Welcome back to Motivation Library.
We love diving into big ideas.
Break them down.
Supercharge your life.
You know the drill.
And today,
We're tackling a classic.
a book that sold over 25 million copies.
Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
I mean, come on, it's practically a cultural phenomenon.
Right.
But you know what's interesting? Even Covey himself
Oh, yeah.
struggled with some of these habits.
I guess nobody's perfect.
He wasn't born a productivity guru.
That makes you think.
Makes his message even more powerful, don't you think?
Okay, so let's break it down.
Yeah.
Covey kicks things off with this whole paradigm shift idea.
Okay.
And to illustrate it, he tells this pretty intense story.
Ooh, a story. I love stories.
So picture this. A ship captain navigating through crazy thick fog.
Can't see a thing.
Exactly.
Uh-oh.
He thinks he spots another ship's lights.
Okay.
Starts signaling like crazy,
Trying to avoid a collision.
but there's no response.
That's not good.
Tension's building.
Getting kind of scary now.
Captain's getting more and more frantic,
I bet.
convinced they're about to crash.
Oh, no.
And then suddenly,
What happened?
this booming voice just cuts through the fog.
Out of nowhere.
It's a lighthouse.
Oh, wow.
The captain was so fixated on what he thought he saw,
His perception.
he almost steered everyone into disaster.
I see where you're going with this.
That's how our paradigms work.
Explain.
They're like these mental maps.
We'll use them to navigate.
The world, life, everything.
Makes sense.
But here's the thing. What if our maps are totally wrong?
Or, like, outdated, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Covey's saying sometimes we need a complete paradigm shift.
To see clearly.
It reminds me of those optical illusions.
Oh, yeah. Where you can see two different images.
The old woman or the young woman.
It's the same picture.
But you see it differently.
And both can be right.
It all depends on your perspective.
Your paradigm.
So how do we shift these paradigms?
Good question.
Covey talks about 2 approaches to success.
Okay, lay them on me.
He calls them the character ethic and the personality ethic.
Interesting.
But it's like you saying society focuses too much on personality.
Like outward appearances.
Yeah. Techniques, charisma, quick fixes.
The surface stuff.
But those things only get you so far.
What's the alternative?
Covey says, real, lasting success comes from strong character.
Like integrity and stuff.
Exactly.
Humility, courage, patience.
It's about who you are.
Not just what you do.
He even shares a personal story
Uh,
about his own son.
Oh.
They tried all these techniques to help him in school.
To improve his grades.
Yeah,
Didn't work.
nothing was working. Then Covey had this realization.
What was it?
They were viewing their son through this lens of inadequacy.
They only saw his weaknesses.
So they changed their perception.
Started focusing on his strengths.
Exactly. He started to thrive.
Wow, that's pretty powerful.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Our beliefs shape our reality.
Covey connects this to something he calls the law of the harvest.
Okay, that sounds interesting.
It's like you can't just cram on a farm.
What do you mean?
You can't plant a seed today and expect a full harvest tomorrow.
It takes time.
Patience, consistent effort.
Makes sense.
You got to align yourself with those principles of growth.
And that's where the 7 habits come in.
They're not magic
But they're a framework
for living a more effective life.
based on those timeless principles.
So, habit 1,
Hit me with it.
it's about taking ownership.
I like it already.
It's called be proactive.
Be proactive.
It's recognizing that we have a choice
A choice in how we respond.
to everything.
Covey talks about our circle of concern,
All the things we worry about.
but can't control.
And then there's the circle of influence.
The things we can impact.
Through our choices,
Our actions.
proactive people
They focus their energy.
on their circle of influence.
They don't dwell on problems.
Or blame others.
They take initiative.
Find solutions.
I always think of Viktor Frankl,
He's a great example.
imprisoned in Nazi concentration camps.
Unimaginable suffering.
Yet, he still chose his attitude,
Found meaning.
focused on what he could control.
His thoughts. His responses.
And that helped him survive.
So how do we become more proactive?
Yeah, how do we do it?
Covey suggests a 30-day challenge
Ooh, a
for
challenge.
the next month.
Okay.
Focus on making conscious
And
choices.
not just reacting.
So if something's frustrating you,
Yeah.
ask yourself, what's in my control here?
What can I do to make it better?
Love that.
It's about shifting from passive to active.
You're not just a leaf blowing in the wind.
You have the power to choose your direction.
And that brings us to habit 2.
Okay, bring it on.
Begin with the end in mind.
I like the sound of that.
It's all about vision.
purpose.
Like before you build a house,
You make a blueprint.
but Covey says approach life the same way.
Imagine building a house with no plan.
Total chaos.
Kitchen in the basement.
Bathroom in the attic.
Our lives can feel like that.
When we don't know where we're going.
It's not just about setting goals.
It's about defining your values.
What kind of person you want to be.
And living in alignment with that vision.
Take control of the compass.
Chart your own course.
Don't just drift through life.
Covey also talks about leadership versus management.
Fill me in.
Leadership defines the what.
The destination, the vision,
Management is the how,
the logistics.
the process of getting there.
Habit 2 is about being the leader of your own life.
Exactly.
So we have our vision.
We're being proactive.
But how do we actually make it happen?
That's where habit 3 comes in.
I'm all ears.
Put first things first.
Okay, that sounds pretty straightforward.
It's about time management.
Prioritizing.
Covey introduces this tool called the time management matrix.
Love a good tool.
It divides activities into 4 quadrants.
Based on.
Urgency and important.
Okay, break it down for me.
So there's quadrant 1,
Urgent and important.
deadlines, crises.
Got it.
Quadrant 2,
Important but not urgent.
planning, relationships, personal development.
Makes sense.
Then we have quadrant 3,
Urgent but not important.
distractions, other people's priorities.
Those can be tricky.
And lastly, quadrant 4,
Neither urgent nor important.
time wasters.
Things that suck up our energy but don't contribute much.
So Covey's big idea here is to prioritize those quadrant 2 activities.
The important but not urgent stuff.
They move the needle on our long-term goals and happiness
But they often get neglected.
because they don't have immediate consequences.
We get so caught up in putting out fires.
We forget to sharpen the saw.
Love that analogy.
So instead of just reacting,
To the tyranny of the urgent.
habit 3 encourages us to schedule our priorities.
Literally block out time for those quadrant 2 activities.
It's a game changer.
And remember that emotional bank account we talked about earlier?
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
It's like each relationship is a GERK account.
And instead of money,
We're depositing and withdrawing trust,
simple acts of kindness,
keeping commitments.
being honest and respectful,
Those are all deposits.
breaking promises,
Being disrespectful,
acting selfishly,
those are withdrawals.
just like a financial bank account.
If you keep making withdrawals without deposits.
You're going to go bankrupt.
So as we wrap up part 1,
Think about your own emotional bank account.
are you making enough deposits?
Building strong relationships.
That's crucial for the public victories.
And that's where we're headed next.
Back again at Motivation Library, still with us,
We're in the thick of it now.
exploring those 7 habits.
And last time,
Yeah.
we laid the groundwork.
Okay.
Those personal victories,
Yeah.
habits 1 through 3.
Right.
Being proactive,
Uh-huh.
starting with that end in mind.
And
Prioritizing what really matters.
wow.
We're ready to step out into the world.
It's getting real.
These next few habits are all about interaction.
How we connect with others.
Public victories, as Covey calls them.
Makes sense.
Building on that foundation.
That's solid ground.
Ready to create some strong relationships.
Productive, synergistic.
The whole shebang.
Starts with a mindset shift, though, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
That's where habit 4 comes in.
Think win-win.
Yeah, it's about moving away from that.
That competitive dog-eat-dog mentality.
Like it's us versus them.
So much of the world is set up as win-lose.
Someone wins, someone loses.
But Covey's challenging that.
What if we looked for solutions where everyone benefits?
It's not about compromise.
Where everyone just settles?
It's about getting creative
Thinking outside the box.
to find a third alternative.
That everyone feels good about.
Remember that emotional bank account?
Oh, yeah. I like that analogy.
For the big player here,
Deposits of trust, kindness, respect.
it creates that win-win environment.
Think about it. If you feel like someone's trying to take advantage of you, you're going to be on guard,
Makes sense.
not open to collaboration.
Or finding solutions that benefit everyone.
But when you have that trust,
That reservoir of goodwill.
you can approach disagreements differently,
Knowing the other person has your best interests at heart.
even if their perspective is different.
Exactly.
Which leads perfectly into habit 5.
Seek first to understand, then to be understood.
Now we're talking communication.
But not just any communication.
It's about really listening
Deeply listening.
to understand.
It's so easy to get caught up in our own heads,
Oh, I know that feeling.
waiting for our turn to talk,
Formulating that perfect response.
instead of actually hearing what the other person is saying.
Covey talks about those bad listening habits.
Evaluating, probing, advising, interpreting.
We all do it.
jumping in with our opinions and solutions.
Before we even understand the problem.
I do that all the time.
I know, me too.
My wife will be telling me something.
Right.
I'm already trying to fix it.
Before she even finishes explaining.
It's like we think we have all the answers.
But Covey advocates for empathic listening.
Putting our own agenda aside.
Truly tuning in.
To the other person.
It's about paying attention.
Not just to the words.
But the body language, the tone.
The emotions behind the words.
He tells the story about a father and son.
The son's having trouble in school.
The dad keeps offering advice.
Trying to fix it.
But the son just gets more withdrawn.
It's only when the father stops talking.
Stops trying to solve the problem.
And just listens.
That he finally understands.
The son didn't need advice.
He just needed to be heard.
To feel understood.
That's so powerful.
Imagine how much conflict we could avoid.
If we just took the time to truly listen.
It's not always easy.
Especially when emotions run high.
But it's such a valuable skill.
It builds trust.
It leads to those win-win solutions.
So now we have those first 5 habits.
Working together.
Building on each other.
This upward spiral of effectiveness.
And then the magic really starts to happen.
Habit 6. Synergize.
This is where it gets interesting.
It takes win-win and empathic listening.
And creates something even greater.
Like that 1 + 1 = 3 idea.
When diverse people come together.
Different perspectives, talents.
In a spirit of mutual respect.
Open-mindedness.
They can create something amazing.
Covey uses the analogy of a musical orchestra.
I love that analogy.
Each instrument is different.
But together, they create a symphony.
It's the same with human interaction.
We all have unique strengths and weaknesses.
When we embrace those differences,
value each other's contributions,
let go of our egos,
and truly collaborate.
That's when synergy happens.
He tells a story about a company
Struggling to create a new product,
full of brilliant minds.
but stuck in their own ways.
Until they were challenged.
To come together, listen to each other.
Brainstorm openly.
Then they broke through.
Created something truly innovative.
That's the key to synergy.
It's not about compromise.
It's finding that third alternative.
A solution that transcends individual viewpoints.
But synergy doesn't just appear.
It takes a certain maturity.
Humility. Letting go of the need to be right.
Being open to different perspectives.
Even if they challenge our own.
It can be messy.
Uncomfortable at times.
But the rewards of synergy.
They're worth it.
So we have these 6 habits.
Working in harmony.
This upward spiral.
But it's not a one-time thing.
We can't just master these habits and then coast.
Personal growth's a journey.
It's ongoing.
And that's where habit 7 steps in.
Tell me more.
Sharpen the saw.
What does that mean?
It's about self-renewal.
Continuous improvement.
Taking care of our most valuable asset.
Ourselves.
Covey highlights 4 key dimensions to nurture.
I'm listening.
Physical, spiritual, mental, and social-emotional.
Gotta cover all the bases.
Neglecting any one of them.
It undermines our effectiveness.
In all areas of life.
Like that lumberjack with a dull saw.
It's going to take forever.
And the results won't be pretty.
But if he takes a few minutes,
to sharpen the saw,
he can work more efficiently.
And effectively.
It's the same for us.
If we don't take care of ourselves.
Physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally.
We burn out.
Relationships suffer.
We can't show up as our best selves.
So habit 7 is about making self-renewal a priority.
Taking time for those activities that recharge us.
Connect us to our purpose.
Help us grow.
Help us learn.
And it's not selfish.
It's an investment.
In our own well-being.
When we take care of ourselves.
We can better show up for others.
Do our best work.
Make a positive contribution.
Covey says to find ways to sharpen the saw.
In each of those 4 dimensions.
Every single day.
It doesn't have to be hours.
Even a few minutes.
Of exercise, meditation, reading.
Connecting with loved ones.
Makes a huge difference.
And that's the beauty of the 7 habits.
It's not about rigid rules.
Or unattainable perfection.
It's about creating a framework.
For a more fulfilling and effective life.
It's constantly striving.
To align our thoughts, words, and actions.
With those timeless principles.
And remember.
This is a journey.
Not a destination.
You're going to stumble.
But the key is to keep coming back.
They're these principles.
To keep learning, growing, and striving.
To become the best version of ourselves.
Back again for our final chapter on the 7 habits.
Well, we've been through a lot together, haven't we?
Paradigm shifts, synergy, emotional bank accounts.
It's been a journey.
But I think, as we wrap up here.
Yeah.
The biggest question is, What now?
Where do we go from here?
How do we actually take all this amazing information
All these great ideas.
and actually apply them to our lives?
Make them real.
I mean, it's one thing to understand these habits,
In our heads.
but putting them into practice.
It's a whole other ballgame.
Covey gives us some advice, though.
Oh, yeah.
He says, pick one habit,
Okay.
the one that really resonates with you.
The one that speaks to you.
Maybe it's the one you struggle with the most,
The one that keeps tripping you up.
or maybe it's the one you're just super excited about.
You can't wait to try it out.
And then focus just on that one habit.
Really zero in on it.
That makes it your top priority.
For the next month.
3 months.
However long it takes to make it a part of you.
It's about those small steps,
Baby steps.
consistency.
Progress over perfection.
Don't get discouraged if you stumble.
We all do.
It's part of the process.
Just pick yourself up.
Dust yourself off.
Keep moving forward.
And remember those habits. They work together
Like a team,
as you master one.
it makes the others easier.
This upward spiral.
Of growth and effectiveness.
So let's say you're feeling overwhelmed,
Yeah,
reactive,
like you're constantly putting out fires.
other people's priorities running your life.
Maybe habit 3 is a good place to start.
But first things first.
I like it.
Start by identifying those quadrant 2 activities.
Important but not urgent.
They'll make a real difference in your life.
But they're usually the first to go when we're stressed.
Schedule them in. Make them non-negotiable.
And watch your life transform.
Or maybe you're struggling with relationships,
Feeling disconnected.
like you're not really communicating.
With the people that matter most.
Habit 5 could be the answer.
Seek first to understand.
Then to be understood.
Deeper connections.
Start practicing empathic listening.
Really hear what the other person is saying.
Not just with your ears, but with your heart.
Put your own agenda aside.
See things from their perspective.
It's amazing how much that can change things.
And don't forget,
Oh, yeah.
you're not alone on this journey.
We're all in this together.
Covey talks about the power of support.
Finding a mentor.
A friend, family member,
A community of like-minded people.
surrounding yourself with others.
Who are also committed to growth.
It can make all the difference.
Keeps you accountable.
Motivated,
Inspired.
and there are so many resources out there.
It's incredible.
Books, podcasts.
Courses, workshops.
The possibilities are endless.
So don't be afraid.
To reach out.
Ask for help.
Keep learning.
Keep growing.
The journey never ends.
And that's what makes it so exciting.
Covey's work reminds us.
It's not about achieving some perfect end state.
It's about constant striving.
Evolving.
Becoming the best versions of ourselves.
Recognizing that potential for greatness.
We all have it.
And using these 7 habits
As our guide.
to unlock that potential.
To live a life that's fulfilling.
And impactful.
We've loved diving into this book with you.
It's been a real pleasure.
Hopefully you found it as insightful as we have.
Remember the 7 habits, they're not just rules.
They're a philosophy
A way of thinking, a way of being.
that can transform your life.
If you let it.
So go out there and make it happen.
Be proactive.
Begin with the end in mind.
Put first things first.
Think win-win.
Seek first to understand.
Synergize.
Sharpen the saw.
And keep coming back to these principles.
Even when things get tough.
Because the journey is worth it.
Thanks for joining us at Motivation Library.
Until next time,
Keep learning.
keep growing
Keep striving.
to become the best version of yourself.